Hey everybody. I figured I'd put out a new video today and kind of update everybody on where I'm at. Um, you know, I know I'm not a professional recording guy and but I've had to learn a lot about what I have and what I have available to me. Um, and so for the most part, um, I'm doing the best I can with what I have. And I think that's not a bad thing. Um, in my mind, that's not really a bad thing at all because honestly, some of us don't have much. And I definitely am one of those people that don't have much. I live off a disability as much as I'd rather I had somebody who would hire me and pay me a good amount so that I could get off of disability and not have to worry about, how little I had every month, and whether or not disability is going to cut me off or not. Um, I do the best with what I have. It's not much, but I do the best with what I have. And so for the most part, that's kind of the way I do everything. A lot of this podcasting, the condenser mic, is cool and as nice as all this stuff looks, I bought used at a very good rate. And so, I might have got lucky, here or there, trying to get this stuff. And so it's not really what I wanted to talk to you guys about as far as all that's concerned. I really wanted to just kind of update on everybody. I know I look a little scraggly. I'm not wearing the nicest of clothes. But the thing is this is the real me. I'm not trying to like put forth some, you know, crazy cool person that's not me in this video. For the most part, my house is a mess. I got dogs that are trying to, you know, vie with my time right now and drop, tennis balls and stuff in the background so that I will play with them. But, for the most part, this is me. Um, and so I do the best to kind of manage with what I have. But I wanted to kind of get everybody an update because I know I haven't really put out a video since I put out the video of my story and where I am. And I'm sure there's a lot of that I could expand upon if people have any questions about that. So it's hard for me to decide on where I want to go with that, except for the fact that I do want to kind of take this time to update everybody on where I'm at. Um, and for the most part, I want to talk about my dialysis, my kidney failure, the thing that I did lost, the big thing that I did lose when I almost lost my life, which was my kidneys. And the thing is that I was on dialysis until June 7th, 2015, and I had to do full dialysis at home in my parents' house. And for the most part, I was able to be doing exercises and stuff like that and get healthy enough where I think my kidneys had the best chance possible to recover themselves, which is unheard of and not possible really statistically. But I was able to get off of dialysis on June 7th, 2015. Unfortunately, about 4 years later in 2019, I went back on dialysis. So I was able to stay off of dialysis for about 4 years. Now, the latter part of the fourth year was pretty rough and pretty bad because I was really ignoring the signs that my kidneys were deteriorating again, and I'd started like puking and not feeling good and feeling sick, and it came to the point where I basically found out that I had kidney failure again because I ended up putting myself back in the hospital and in a really bad shape, unfortunately, because again, I'm missing feet and ankles because of my stubbornness, and here I am again being stubborn. And so I wanted to talk about my experiences in dialysis because I think for the most part, that today is where I struggle and where I have the most conflict because it's not just doing the dialysis. I think it's a lot of things. It's friends that don't understand what dialysis is and what it does and whether it can get better or get worse or and how hard things are to just get and why it just can't be better. It's kind of the same thing as disability things. I think a lot of people get frustrated. People have disabilities because they just don't understand why you just can't get better and just can't can't go to the doctor and they just can't fix that. Why can't that just happen for you? And so friends just don't, there's this disconnect. There's this misunderstanding about why things are the way they are. And I want to kind of see if I can put out a video that kind of describes and explains why that is, and why it's not just as simple as going to the doctor and taking a pill, or getting a surgery scheduled, or getting this scheduled, or getting that scheduled. And this might be a little bit of a long one. And again, I've decided that I'm going to stop worrying about putting out videos that are short and sweet, because the thing is that if you really want to listen and you really want to pay attention to what I have to say and you want to learn something, to me, you'll listen to this video. And if you don't want to, that's okay. Like, there's no obligations, there's no stress. But the thing is that if you really want to know and you really want to hear what I have to say, then you'll listen. If you're really curious, you're really interested, then you'll listen. And if you don't, that's okay. We're all in different places of our lives, and that's perfectly fine. Some of us just don't have the time, and I get it. And so, for the most part, I'm here at home, and I'm trying to figure out how to handle all my finances and everything, and understand that not only is it that aspect, right, trying to find a job, trying to do this, trying to do that, but it's also that every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to an alarm. I leave the house at 5:30, and I travel to Mesquite so that I can go get hooked up to a machine for 4 hours. And so, I prepare, I bring a pillow, I bring a blanket because it gets cold in there. And so for the most part, I sit on a large recliner that is, germ protective. It's like hospital grade everything, so that they can wipe it down with bleach and whatever between patients, because blood might spill, because I have this major vein in my arm in which I put a 12 gauge needle. Like, if you can see it, there's two holes here, and you can see how big the holes are. So a 14 gauge needle goes in here, and another 14 gauge needle goes in here. And so you can imagine that as they pull those out, if they don't like immediately put gauze on those things, they're going to squirt, because that is an artery that is under pressure, and it's going to squirt blood everywhere. And so everything has to be this, able to be cleaned with bleach and everything for all these like bloodborne pathogens, cleaning all this stuff, right? Oh, sorry about that. So I get a little excited. Anyway, so I get there, I bring a pillow, I bring a blanket, I drive there, which is unlike most of the people there. I'm stubborn. Sometimes I feel sick, sometimes I feel woozy, sometimes my blood pressure is low. And if I know that I can't safely drive, I do have to call somebody to come get me so that they can take me home. This is not a thing where I'm just going to force myself to drive home if I don't feel like it. And I'm going to explain to you why, after those 4 hours, it's possible that I cannot drive. So, most of the people there are older. They are people that are diabetic, and through diabetes and diabetic issues, they have kidney failure. I'm one of the rare people that through trauma, my kidneys have failed, and therefore I have to do dialysis in order to live. This is a treatment where I have to have this in order to live. If I do not have this, I will have toxins, and not just toxins, but my electrolytes will be out of balance, which is phosphorus and potassium and magnesium, and all these things that are out of balance. They make you sick, because you have all these things that are going on in your body. And basically, if your electrolytes get out of balance, your calcium gets too high, you start having calcium deposits, which can form, all kinds of blood issues. You have your blood being too heavy, too thick, so your heart is having to pump harder and work harder, because you have all this extra fluid in your heart, so it's having to work overtime. So kidney failure can cause a lot of other issues down the line if you don't take care of it properly. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people that I have met and become friends with through dialysis that I have watched die. I had a guy die this week that I had known, and you kind of saw the writing on the wall because he had come in huffing and puffing because he has all this fluid on his chest. So it's hard for him to breathe because he has all this fluid pushing on his lungs and pushing on his heart and having issues. And so he can barely walk and barely come in the door because he is not watching his fluid. He's not taking care of himself. I have to watch not only what I eat, the amount of salt I eat, how much phosphorus I eat, how much potassium I eat, how much I eat, how much fluid I take in, how much fluid I'm getting rid of. Because on a daily basis, I may urinate an X amount one day, but I may not urinate that amount, or I may urinate more. I have to have pills that I have to take that either help me or don't help me increase the amount of fluid I output. And so there's all these little variables that I have to watch and take care of myself. So it's not just a, hey, I have this illness, which I have a lot of friends that relate to it as an illness and they hope that I get better. But the thing is there is a lot of things, and a lot of these patients don't understand how much work there is involved in trying to measure your output. And you can get really stubborn, and I'm one of those people that get stubborn, and you can get really stubborn and not watch one thing or another and put yourself in a lot of risk. And so you have a lot of people in this clinic that aren't doing those things. And so the clinic kind of starts treating everybody as if nobody's really watching what they're doing. And so you kind of have to treat everybody like they're an idiot. And it's really weird because I take it the wrong way. And I understand that everybody else is a certain way. And it's really hard for me because I try to be very educated and very involved in what I do so that I can do what I need to be able to do. But you have a clinic in which you have a lot of these older people that kind of like, well, I'm old and I'm dying, so I might as well enjoy life. And so they're going to continue to eat what they're eating. And unfortunately, what that does for them is that shortens their life and it makes the remaining years of their life more miserable, because if they had put the work in beforehand, they would be a lot better. And so it's really hard because the thing is you can only take so much fluid off with the big machine. Your body can only tolerate taking off so much fluid at a time. My body can only take 5 kilograms of fluid off at one time. And it's really not 5 kilograms because I can really only take 4. Because I take 5 because unfortunately, because I can't have heparin, which is a drug that they use to thin your blood so that it doesn't clot in the machine, because your blood goes out one of these lines and goes into the machine, kind of has to wrap itself around, and that goes to this big old canister filter that looks like a water filter, but they flow this dialysate acid and base, through this whole system. And so it's a bicarbonate acid. And so they flow this through the outside of this filter so that acid is kind of removing the phosphorus and the potassium and all these other things from your blood, as well as it's removing the water, from your blood, right? And then it flows out of that filter and it gets going to go. There's some other stuff and they run some tests and yada, yada, yada. So essentially that's how the machine works. Well, your body is leaving and it's getting colder, and then you don't have like your body kind of refreshing and replenishing. So you have these like blood cells kind of dying and clotting up and everything as it goes through. So most of the clinics use a little bit of heparin, and they measure that heparin because it's easy to measure. And most people can have heparin, but I cannot. And so because I can't have heparin, because it can't thin my blood starts to thicken and coagulate as it goes through the system, and that's bad. So what they do for me is they always feed, they have an extra line kind of going in the line that tees in, and it feeds it saline. So the saline is kind of thinning out my blood just enough, because you can't give me too much fluid, because again, the byproduct of having kidney failure is that I'm not getting rid of fluid. So here I am having to have another full liter of fluid put in my body just in 4 hours so that it can actually go through the machine without clotting up the machine. And so I take off 5 liters or an extra liter of fluid every time I do dialysis so that I can actually do the treatment and not clot up the machine. So you can already see that for me, things get complicated. And if you've already lost you, please understand that this is a lot of information and that this is why for a lot of dialysis patients, it's too much for them to understand. And so I really wish they would put out like a booklet of reading so that you would have to learn all this stuff because it's a lot. And so for me and my friends, like they want things to be simple. Freya, please leave that alone. Hey, hi, leave that alone, please. It's not yours. I know. So anyway, by the way, that's my Great Dane. Hi, come meet everybody. Hi. I know you missed me. Can you wait for a minute? Okay? Love you. Go play. Go lay down. Go lay down. Good girl. So, for the most part, that's what's tough. It's really difficult for people. So, I have to have that treatment. I can only take off 5 kilos. Again, I'm only taking off 4, but I'm taking off 5 because we have to take off the extra liter of fluid that I'm getting just so I can get treatment. So 4 kilograms of water is almost a full gallon of water. So you can imagine, especially over a weekend, I have to take those 4 kilos off. Over a weekend, I'm anywhere from 3.2 to 4 kilos overweight. So I have an extra gallon of bad water, of urine kind of fluid. That is because that's essentially what your kidneys are doing, is producing urine. So all that toxic sludge that your urine getting removed from your body is still flowing in mine. And so it's bad. And so essentially, that machine helps me get rid of that fluid. So I do that every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Now, if you can imagine thinking about you're out in the sun, you're working, the sun is dehydrating you, and it can make you sick. So on top of like this massive change that my body is going through in 4 hours, because it's dirty blood, it's darker blood, and as the 4 hours moves along, my blood is a little lighter, my blood is a lot cleaner. I have all this fluid removed. So my body is kind of got used to that being over dehydrated, right? So all of a sudden that fluid gets removed, that whole gallon of fluid, you feel dehydrated, you start to feel sick, you start to feel woozy, your blood pressure starts to drop. So people have kidney failure and they're not urinating. What will happen is a lot of doctors will put them on blood pressure medicine that will reduce their blood pressure because their blood is having to pump all this extra blood. And so they're having to take blood pressure pills because their blood pressure is up. And so we're fixing the symptom, but the problem is you're going into dialysis and you're taking all that fluid out. So your blood was having to pump extra hard because of all this extra fluid. And now you've removed all the fluid. So now your blood pressure drops because you were taking blood pressure. Now, I say all that, and sometimes the dialysis machine will actually remove some of the blood pressure medicine from your body, and some of it won't. So you have to know what blood pressure medicine it will remove and what it won't. And so some of these people take blood pressure medicine that doesn't get removed during the system. And so essentially what happens is that they have to take a blood pressure raiser so that or increaser so that they can actually finish the dialysis process, because their blood pressure gets dropped because they're taking blood pressure medicine, that because they're, again, you have to manage this stuff on a daily basis. So you're having all that fluid removed today, but tomorrow you're going to gain all that fluid back. So you're going to have this blood pressure. So you either take your blood pressure unregularly, which may or may not work for you, or you take it regularly, and then when you're doing dialysis, you have to have a blood pressure medicine that you take before so that your blood pressure medicine takes effect and it raises your blood pressure enough so that you can finish dialysis, because if your blood pressure goes too low, then they can't remove that fluid off of your heart, off of your body, and then you're stuck with all this extra fluid. So just the fluid removal process can get really messy, which is why you should really watch how much fluid you intake on a daily basis. So it's not just what you eat and how much sodium. Oh, sodium greatly affects stuff. So I try to eat stuff without any sodium whatsoever. And that's really hard to do because I eat things like no sodium added chips, which is really hard to find. Trader Joe's has the best ones, by the way. Siete chips, they suck. They have no taste. They taste not good. So Trader Joe's has some good no sodium added chips, which have 0 milligrams of sodium in the chips. And I'm talking too much, so I'm yawning. So I do apologize for that. But again, this is real and it's unedited, and I want to make sure that I get this out there. So, and again, I'm just trying to explain the process to you because, for the most part, this just isn't. I go to dialysis 3 times a week for 4 hours, and it's a done deal. This is something that I have to manage and struggle every single day. And a lot of people with disabilities, this isn't just a here or there, whether it's a mental disability, a physical disability, whatever that disability is, okay? The thing is that has to be managed on an ongoing basis. And it changes throughout the day depending on what's going on and what you're doing in that day, depending on what you're doing. If I'm getting good fluid, then I can drink more water and I can do stuff, but I may be thirsty or, there's all kinds of stuff going on. So this just isn't a, hey, I hope you get better. This is a, hey, this is the way the process is. This is the way this exists. This is something I have to manage. This is what prevents me from having a normal job because I have to manage this stuff on a daily basis. I just can't do, people bring snacks and they want to bring this or that. And I have to say, no, I'm sorry. I can't have that because salt or because of phosphorus or because it's a milk or a cheese or whatever that is. And so you have this thing where I learned how to get a job and it's like, hey, you're a sales guy. If they all eat one thing, you want to fit into the team. So you eat what they're eating. I can't do that because I have a disability that prevents me from doing that, or I might die. Because if I have too much fluid on my system, we've already tested what that's like. I had 2 liters of fluid causing my heart to close. I almost had congestive heart failure because I had too much fluid on my heart because my dialysis wasn't working. And so I wound up at the hospital almost dying for a second time in my lifetime. And I was told by the surgeon who removed the fluid from my heart that if he didn't get to me 3 hours earlier, I would have died. And so here we are, we have this kind of system where this isn't just an illness, this is a disability that affects every single facet of my life. It causes me to be tired, which is why I'm yawning, just trying to do this podcast. And you can look that up. They haven't really even found out why people with kidney failure feel exhausted and tired all the time. More than likely, it's because everything in your body's having to work a little bit harder because there's all these extra things in your blood that your kidneys aren't taking care of. And it's causing all this extra stuff to kind of happen in your body, And so I have to keep all these things, luckily I have ADHD, so I'm always high energy all the time anyway. But that doesn't necessarily help me from yawning or everything else. And you have people in this life who will see you yawn and they think, oh, am I boring you? No, it's because I have a disability that causes me to do that. It's not because I'm tired and I'm not getting enough rest or not doing anything else. My body is exhausted because it's having to work overtime. So on top of all that, my blood pressure gets affected, okay, completely different than everybody else's, okay, because of this scenario right here, where both of my legs are amputated at that point. Okay, so I don't have all this extra veins and blood for my body to pump. So me doing different things around the house, and I use knee pads to get around the house, by the way, and I have a video on that as well. But me doing all these extra things to get around the house, it takes more effort. It takes me more effort to walk on my prosthetics than it takes most everybody else to walk normally. It takes me more effort to walk around on my knee pads than it takes everybody else the ability to walk around normally. And that's frustrating for me because as a dude getting up and going, I can't do what I used to be able to do, it sucks. And those guys who are over 40 years old start to understand what that's like because as you get 40 and older, you can't do the same crap you used to be able to do years ago. You're no longer 20. You no longer have those abilities anymore. Your muscles don't stretch and aren't as elastic as they used to be. You're not as strong as they used to be. And so, there's an old country song that says, I'm not what I used to be, but I'll give it my best shot, or something like that. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody who knows the actual lyrics of the song. But essentially, it's a disability. And so I wanted to kind of get everybody, you know, educated on the fact that disabilities are a real thing. And so when you talk about all of these things that the government does to kind of limit those people who are on disability, going through that and going through those things, it makes it really difficult for those people. Now, why can't I just go get a transplant, a kidney transplant, and get it all over with? Well, I'll tell you why. Number one, it's because I almost had congestive heart failure, and essentially I have to now get my heart a-okay and tested and written off and checkbox and everything, saying that I have a good clean bill of health for my heart, because if I have heart issues, then I won't as easily be able to get a kidney transplant, because your likelihood of survivability with heart issues is low. So why are they going to get all that effort to give you a kidney when somebody else who has a clean bill of health will last a long time on those new kidneys? So the thing is that not just anybody can go out and get a kidney, and those people who are older may or may not be eligible depending on how much life they have left in them. Those people who are older and have amputations may or may not get prosthetics because insurance decides on whether or not they're able and applicable to get prosthetics based on whether they're going to use them or not. And I think all that shit is bullshit, but we're not going to get into that. I'm just letting you know that that is part of the process. To get a wheelchair, to get anything else, there's all these different layers and levels of classifications that insurance, and it's all, pardon the French, but it's all fucking bullshit. And it's a big fucking mess, and we're not going to talk about it in this video right now because those are things that we can break down and talk about later. But I'm telling you, if you're disabled and you're just trying to get help and trying to get something here or there, it's a process. It's a very difficult, grueling process. And one friend may get something that you're unable to get, because they have a little bit more money than you are, or they have a little bit better credit than you do, or they might have a better ability to make a down payment, or they have family that will help them pay the down payment for them to get stuff. Because sometimes the way insurance works is that if you can pay for it outright, then insurance will come back and they'll reimburse you later. But if you can't afford it outright in the beginning, you're screwed. You can't get that. And the thing is that you may have insurance that says, hey, you have prosthetics, they cost $30,000. We'll pay 70 or 80% of that, and you got to pay the rest. If you can't afford the rest of that, you're not getting it. Whether you need it to live or not, whether you need to have those prosthetics to be able to have a healthy likelihood of living for the rest of your life, you're not getting it if you don't have the money. So the thing is that we talk about disabilities, and I want everybody to understand that whatever the disability you have, mental, physical, or whatever, the system's kind of a pain in the ass right now. This isn't something that you just kind of get in and kind of like, okay, it's cool. No. You just can't go to the doctor and get a pill or get whatever. Everything's a fucking process. Everything takes time, and everything has its own red tape and its own rules and its own dependabilities as far as what you can or cannot do. I would love to be able to have home dialysis so that I could do dialysis in the comfort of my home, and I'm working on that again. at this moment in time, which is why I haven't had a whole lot of time to spend with friends and everything else. It's because I have to have a home visit and I have to make sure that I have this and I have that and I have storage and I have this and that and that and I have people here who can help me out in case of emergencies. And you have to give me a break because I'm gonna talking too much. Um, by the way, I'm limited to one of these cups a day. This is what I'm limited to. This is how much fluid I can have in a day. So if anybody's ever curious, is what I limit myself to. 1 32 ounce of a local Dallas all shucks big shucks cup. So that's what I'm limited to. Um, for the most part, it's a pain in the butt. I start training next week for my home dialysis. I will have to spend Monday through Friday in the clinic. I will have to leave out of here every day about 10:30, 10 o'clock in the morning and drive to dialysis and use the home machine every single day next week for training. Um, I know how to do a lot of this stuff, so I think it's going to be really easy for me. But we'll see how it goes. I don't know whether this machine is going to work for me. That's a big fear of mine because, again, I might clot the machine. So, how do I give myself extra saline in the machine? Um, we'll figure that out. You know, I don't know. With that said, that I can speak to next time when I update you guys. As far as what I do Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, is I drive out here at 5 o'clock and I don't get back home till 11 o'clock or midnight. So, to give you that in perspective, my treatment is only 4 hours, but that takes up 6 to 7 hours of my day every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And not only does it take me that many hours in my day to do that treatment, it also wipes me out depending on how much fluid I have to have removed off of my body. So I may have to come home and take a 30-minute to 4 hour nap so that I can function for the rest of the day. So essentially, I don't plan anything in my life Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday. And this is why I have stopped playing pool competitively. This is why I don't spend a whole lot of time with a lot of friends anymore, is because I don't have the energy. And so for the most part, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, and Sunday, I have to do everything else that I have to do in my life. So it sucks. This is the reason why I can't do a job. This is the reason why I can't do everything. And then to have the government want to take my disability away from them, which I can barely survive on enough, it sucks. So I try to make the most of it. And so I think I get frustrated and I don't think it's fair because I have a lot of friends who go, I hope you get to feeling better. And I know they mean well. But this isn't going to get any better. This is the process as it is for right now. And everybody says, hey, you're always so happy and you're always so great. Yeah, I am. I cannot be happier than I am right now. Things are great. That doesn't mean that all this stuff doesn't weigh on me. That doesn't mean that I don't struggle on a day-to-day basis. That doesn't mean that something doesn't happen at the clinic where they treat me like I'm an idiot and they treat me like I don't understand what's going on, because the thing is that 50 to 75% of the patients at the clinic have no idea how that machine works or what that's going on. So unfortunately, the clinic tries to pass on a lot of stuff as, oh, it's okay, it's fine. And then for me to have to fight that in the system so that I get the care that I need, and not everybody up there gets the care that they need, because again, insurance wants everything done as cheaply as possible. And again, I'm not going to get into that, but it's a soapbox item. And so I want everybody to understand that I struggle. on a daily basis. And the thing is that just because you don't see that struggle and you see me happy all the time, that does not mean that I don't struggle and that I don't have issues and that I'm not in a place where I'm not struggling. I love my friends. I have a very small group knit of friends and I love them very much and they pull me out of shit. But I have a lot of them say, man, I really wish that I had your attitude and that I was as positive and awesome as you are. Man, it takes work. It absolutely takes so much work to get to there. So, um, here's the thing. This is a little bit of aspect of my life. I'm going to end this video for the most part right here. I am doing great, by the way. This is just a normal day-to-day life thing that I have to deal with. And I just wanted to kind of put that out there for everybody else to kind of see, so that you can understand what that's like for everybody else who has kidney failure, whether that's due to blood loss trauma or dialysis or diabetes, or whatever that may be. Understand that if somebody has a disability, it isn't just one thing or another. They don't just have it one minute and they don't. Even if it's a disability that they have it one minute, they don't. They have to deal with it all the time. And then when they don't have it, they're worrying about when they're going to have it again. Stop trying to put everybody into a box. We're all different. I am so much more different than everybody at that clinic. Now, that clinic is going to try to treat everybody the same because it makes it cheaper and makes it more affordable for everybody to be able to do that. Granted, it's still expensive. By the way, the bills that I get from that clinic, I have to find grants to pay those bills. This clinic, this isn't cheap. I have zero money left after I pay all my bills for disability. And every 3 months I get a bill of about $2,000 or $3,000 that I have to figure out how to pay. Not to mention my Auryxia that I have to take to block phosphorus for things that I eat so that I can eat more things that I like to eat, like dairies and cheeses, even though I have to keep those at a minimum. Anything out there that has phosphorus in it, I have to take these before I eat it. This bottle alone cost me $285 every time I want to get a new one. So I have to have a grant to pay for that. And luckily there are programs that give me grants that do that. But I want you to understand that just because I have this, there's little and every little aspects around my life that make everything I do less affordable. The food that I have to eat is more expensive because it's special. If I want to have tortilla chips, I have to have 0 salt tortilla chips. If I want to have grits in the morning, those have phosphorus. I have to take a phosphorus pill. Those pills cost money. If I want to do one thing or another, that's going to cost me money. Money that I don't have. So again, if somebody has a disability, stop knocking them for it. There are more things that they're having to deal with that you have no idea about. So I want to put that in perspective. Also, what I want to be able to do is I say, if you're healthy and your doctor says you have some stuff going on that you need to address, my recommendation is that you address it. Because the thing is if it gets to the point where you're going to shove it under the rug and continue to do life like you want to and not address the problems that you have, there is no good that is going to come from that. You will have to address that issue later. You may be pushing that down the road, but by the time you get to it, it is going to be much worse. And if you are in a position like me, where you have pushed it down the road for too long, it may impact your life more than you could ever desire. If your doctor says you are going to become diabetic if you don't change your ways, and you want to say, well, I want to enjoy my life, you will not be enjoying your life. You will enjoy it It will be a law of diminishing returns. You will enjoy it, but only for so long. And then it will go downhill really quick, quicker than you would like. I have a lot of people out there, and look, you know what? This isn't going to change you. No matter what I say right now, no matter what, whether you can learn from me or not, you aren't going to do a thing about it. And I'll tell you why, because we're human beings. And let me tell you when we decide to change. We decide to change when we can't handle it anymore. You look through all your life and what you've done, and I will guarantee you that the only time you've ever drastically changed is when you just couldn't take it anymore. In fact, there's probably times where you couldn't take it anymore, and then all of a sudden you kind of pushed it aside and it got better and things normalized a little bit, and you continued to do what you wanted to be able to do, and then all of a sudden it got bad again. You're only going to do that so many times until it gets so bad that you have to change. There's no way around it. The best thing to do is to change when you get the sign. When you get the hint that says, hey, you need to make a change, change. Unfortunately, we're human beings, and you're probably not going to change until it gets to that point. So hopefully you've reached the end of this video and you can hear me and you decide to do something about whatever it is that you're struggling with right now. Because let me tell you something. The majority of the people that are still listening to this video, they got something going on right now. Whether it be big or small. And I hope you change. Not for me, but for you. Absolutely for you. Doesn't affect me. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing right now. Whether this goes viral, whether this goes big or small, I'm going to keep going. Or not. I could die tomorrow. Who knows? But the thing is I'm going to keep doing the best I can with what I got. That's what I'm going to do. So, that's the end of this video. I wish everybody who watches this to this point, I absolutely wish you the best. I hope that you have the visions and the ability to see the path that you need to take, and that I hope you take it. I'm going to try to put more videos like this out here, and I hope that everybody takes a listen and takes a gander. But I definitely wish you all the best. Have a good day.